Tuesday, June 2nd, 2015, episode 42 of Dobashi's Radio Takedown. Dobashi's Radio Takedown is brought to you by the fans. If it wasn't for you fans, none of this would exist. And the UIWA, United Independent Wrestling Affiliates. Thank you for downloading and listening to this podcast. You can send your emails to radiotakedown@gmail.com. That's radiotakedown@gmail.com. If you enjoy this podcast, the best way to support this podcast, spread the word and go to radiotakedown.com. Hit that podcast icon and follow so you don't miss a single episode. Or go to Dobashi's Radio Takedown on iTunes and subscribe. You know what? Best of all, it's free. Thank you for your support.
Live from my studios in Tacoma, Washington, I'm not only a proud member of the World Powers and a three-time UIWA North American Heavyweight Champion, also in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine's Top 500, I'm the Beast from the Middle East, the Yemeni Maniac, the modern-day Sheikh, Diafullah, the Butcher, Dobashi, and your host of Dobashi's
Talk Show.
No, Dobashi's Radio Takedown. I love beating my opponents for my own and your entertainment, but now I'm entertaining you right here with special guests and talks on all combative sports and entertainment. After all, you do watch sports to get entertained, don't you? This is a soapbox for the people to speak on anything. If you need to settle a problem, you can do it right here, censored free. Let's ring the bell to start the show.
I'm your host, Deirdre Dobashi. I am honored today having as a guest once again the WBO former women's junior welterweight boxing champion, Christy Martin. How are you doing today?
I'm good. But that's WBC. I have to give them a shout out and make sure that's clarified. It's the green belt.
WBC. I don't know why I said WBO. I think I have NWO, that wrestling thing, stuck in my head. It's the WBC. WBC Woman Junior Welterweight Boxing Champion, Christy Martin. We started over again. How you doing today?
I'm good. Just hanging in there. You know, I'm substitute school teaching some, so it's a challenge. You know, we're actually doing finals now, and keeping these kids in the right place and on task is a challenge.
That's awesome. Well, I understand you've been a very busy woman. How's things going since the last time you were on this podcast?
You know, everything is moving forward, and finally, I think I kind of mentioned it last time, but you know, I've thrown my hat into the ring of boxing promoters. Just last week, I sent off my paperwork to get a promoter's license here in North Carolina, and hopefully that'll all come together soon. I'm talking to a venue here in Charlotte, and hopefully September 15th is the date we have circled. That's a Tuesday night, so kind of bring back the Tuesday night fights and see where it goes.
Oh, that's awesome. So I understand it's called Pink Promotions, correct?
Absolutely. Pink Promotions. I sat down and I tried to think of what should it be, and, you know, I didn't really want to just do Christy Martin because I go by my maiden name, Christy Salters now, and so I'm like, you know what, let's just do Pink Promotions, and maybe not at first, but as time goes along, people will catch on to that, and the people that remember my career will understand why it's Pink Promotions.
Oh, nice. So I understand that you're going to induct someone very special in this Hall of Fame coming up.
Absolutely. For the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame coming up July 11th down in South Florida, Deirdre Gogharty is going to be inducted, and I'm going to have the privilege to announce her and introduce her, and you know, working on my speech and all of the facts about her career, and you know, she's a surprising character. She seemed like she was kind of you know, this petite little you know, I don't want to say perfect, but not so rough around the edges. But I read the book on her life, and She was. She was a tough character, actually. So it's going to be interesting and fun to hang out with her for a little bit and to be there. It'll definitely be special to be the one that gets to induct her.
Now, which Hall of Fame is this?
It's the Women's Boxing Hall of Fame. It's actually just the second year. We had the inductions last year, which, was fortunate enough to get to go in. And I see Lucia Riker, my nemesis, was there being inducted, as well as some of the ladies that really helped women's boxing move to the forefront. Barbara Buttrick, who was way, way before me. She's probably like 80-something now. So it just shows that women have been boxing for a very long time.
Oh, that's awesome. I understand. I see that on national TV, the Premier Boxing League has been, on nationwide TV. Have you been keeping up with that and all the boxing scene that's going on?
I have, and I know that there's some lawsuits out there against Al Heyman, but as a fan, I'm just glad that he's doing what he's doing. I mean, he's putting boxing back on free TV. It's on Spike. It's on True TV. It's on NBC. It's every channel you turn on, you can get boxing during the weekend. So I'm excited. I think it's a great thing for boxing, and hopefully he can be strong and continue. He's putting together good fights. He's not just giving us, crap. It's not an A against a C or D. It's two A's in there.
And I noticed that, I like the setup they got out. It looks more up to date, and it looks like he's trying to get the fans to know who the boxers are, because, no one knows who was, the world heavyweight champion and back in the day with like the superstars like Muhammad Ali or whatnot, everyone knew, and they got to invest in the characters and feel what they're going through. And I think that's lost now. And I think what they're doing now, hopefully people will start, seeing the boxers and knowing who the boxers are and be mentally vested in it. I think that would help a lot.
Absolutely. That's what I like so much about HBO, and then Showtime does it now too. They start us a little story about each fighter. Well, we may know their name, but we don't know their background. And then when you learn somebody's background, sometimes you don't have a fight and you really don't have a favorite. But then you hear the story and you say, wow, I really like to see this kid get a break. And so you start to pull for him. But, I think that's something that's been lacking in professional boxing, period. No matter whom or where it may be, it's we just haven't been learning the background of the fighters.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I'm sure you watched. What was your thoughts on the Pacquiao and Mayweather fight?
It's so funny because Monday morning I go to school and so many of the teachers and the kids, they're all complaining. Oh, it wasn't even a fight. Floyd ran. Da da da. I'm like, what did you expect, Hagler Hearns? Why did you, for any moment, think Floyd was going to turn into Marvin Hagler? I mean, this is the way Floyd fights, and he's great at it. So why is he going to change?
Right.
I think we saw, Floyd painted another perfect masterpiece, and he really showed Pacquiao's all of his weaknesses. Maybe he was hurt going in, and I guess he was, but still Floyd made it look easy. I think he maybe gave up 3 rounds, and those were even questionable. Pacquiao never pressured him or got him in trouble. He landed maybe one solid left hand, and I was, of course, like everybody else, disappointed, hoping that Pacquiao would some way make Floyd fight, but it's not going to happen. I mean, Floyd's too good. No. Speaking of Premier, you said something about lawsuits going on. Are you able to talk anything about that? What's going on, or? I don't know the details. I just have heard rumors that, and I read some of the boxing websites and stuff, and I see that there have been some lawsuits filed against Al Heyman, but I don't know any of the facts. They could be dropped by now. I don't know. As I said, I think what he's doing for boxing as a whole is great for us fans. Business-wise, I'm not in that league, nor will I be. So,
right.
I hope he keeps doing what he's doing, and great for him. He thought of it before everyone or anyone else did.
No, I was, surfing the web this morning, and I caught a glimpse, and I don't know what I read, but it was something about Amir Khan was talking about, or someone was saying that he wanted a piece of Mayweather.
Yeah, it's really funny because before Khan's last fight, so many people against Algeria, he was talking about fighting Floyd, and maybe Amir Khan was already thinking about Floyd instead of the task he had at hand. But if that same Amir Khan shows up to fight Floyd Mayweather, I think Mayweather knocks him out.
Yeah.
He just wasn't sharp. And Floyd's just way too fast. He's way too fast. He's way too smooth. I don't think it won't be much of a contest.
Yeah, like you saying, Floyd said he has one more fight in him. Do you think it's going to be a rematch with Pacquiao, or who do you predict is the next opponent going to be for his final match?
Yeah, I don't really think it'll be a rematch, especially if he wants to get in the ring this year, as he says. But at the same time, I do not in any way think that Floyd will retire with 49-0 record. That 50 wins is so good. I tried to get it, even though I didn't have the O to go with it, but I still tried to get the 50 wins. So I think that we'll see Floyd come back and fight a big fight for that 50th win. His next opponent, I think Amir Khan has a good chance to be that opponent. And really with his poor showing, that probably increased his chances of being that final opponent.
No, do you think the Pacquiao and Mayweather fight was 5 years too late?
Not really. I think.
No?
They waited it out. They got the most money, the most bang for the buck for them. No, I think 5 years ago it would have been the same fight. Mayweather may have had to box and be a little sharper, a little more on his toes, throw a few more punches, but I think he still would just put on a clinic. Awesome,
yeah. Now let's talk about your Pink Promotions. You got your your first event coming up, and do you have any matches signed for your first event?
Nothing yet. We're going to work with a lot of local guys here in Charlotte, and I'm going to actually the rest of this week I'll be visiting different gyms here in Charlotte to kind of take a look at the talent that's here. But at the same time, I have a lot of kids in my gym down in Florida, and I hope to bring some of those kids up. Amos co-works down there. The gym's really full of kids, so hopefully be able to bring up a couple of those, let them go against some of these Charlotte kids, and we'll see who's the best.
Yeah, I got a few emails coming in. Would you mind answering a couple emails?
All right, no problem.
Okay. Let's see. We got here Dominique from Jacksonville, Mississippi. He emailed, I see boxing is making a huge comeback on network TV. It is refreshing to see. I really do miss it. That being said, Ronda Rousey is pretty much the face of the UFC. Do you think there will be a prominent woman boxer to reach her stardom? Also, there were words going back and forth between Rousey and Laila Ali. If the money is right, would you go into the octagon to face Rousey in an MMA fight? Or maybe have one MMA fight and then a boxing match between the two of you?
I'm not interested in any MMA fight, but I had a stroke, so my career is over. If I were young, of course, I would probably be challenging Ronda Rousey to come into the boxing ring.
Right.
I don't want to go into her domain. I think she rules that, and even if Laila were to fight her, there's too much size discrepancy. But let's say they did do it.
Mhm.
In the octagon, Ronda Rousey, without a doubt.
Mhm.
I don't know in the boxing ring. Probably Layla, she's just so big. I mean, when I fought her, she was just so big. I hit her with good shots, but she was just big. I couldn't really reach her. She's a big woman, and I don't think that I don't think that she could come down and weight now because she's been retired for a long time. I think had two children. I'm not sure if she's interested in doing any more boxing or MMA stuff. So I think it was just talk, but it was good hype. It helped Ronda Rousey out.
Yeah. No. Now, one of the other questions on here: do you think there's going to be any prominent women boxers to reach a stardom, or do you see any up and comers that caught your eye?
Unfortunately, I haven't seen any female fighters that really. I think, wow, that's the person that's going to rejuvenate the excitement. And right now, there's just no major promoter that's even given a woman fighter the opportunity to catch the public's attention. So until someone like Al Heyman gives a female fighter the opportunity to be seen on TV, people, women's boxing just really fallen to the wayside.
Yeah. Do you think not as many women getting into it, or do you think there's a lot more, not only in women, do you think there's a lot more youth trying to go into MMA, or do you see just as much as them in boxing, or do you see more people coming into boxing? What's your opinion on that?
I'm not really sure because I'm not in the gyms where the MMA fighters are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard for me to put a true assessment on it. I think like a couple of years ago, definitely there was a surge in MMA fighters, but now, we've seen boxing more on TV. The Mayweather-Pacquiao fight got everybody talking about boxing again. So hopefully that brought some people back to the boxing gym. Not really being in the gym and hands-on. It's hard for me to really say.
Not knocking MMA or anything, but not only, I professional wrestler, I got into, jiu-jitsu and stuff, but when I watched Premier Boxing, and I saw it on King 5 or King NBC, I got excited because it was so refreshing, and I actually, when I saw boxing, on TV, and I think I caught it on some other promotion on some other sports channel. I mean, I got excited, and I realized how much science and strategy there is in boxing. It's almost like fighting like you're a chess player. And like I said, it was great. I didn't realize how much I missed it. I really hope, it makes a comeback, and it looks like it is. That being said, do you think, let's go to this next question right here. Tammy Lincoln from Chicago, Illinois. It says, being a female in the boxing industry, how hard was it for you? I can't even read. How hard was it for you on boxing for you? Did the women get paid as much as the men, and what was the hardest obstacle, if you had any, to overcome?
Well, the hardest obstacle was definitely just to convince promoters to put me on. Once they put me on, then they would use me again. But it was to get that first opportunity that was difficult. So obviously, getting to sign with Don King was a blessing. And he took a risk. He took a chance. He didn't know what was going to happen. Fortunately for him and me, it worked. It could have blown up in his face for sure, but it worked. So as far as the pay, women fighters definitely don't make what the men fighters do, but it all comes down to who puts butts in the seats. And if that's a woman fighter, then she deserves the pay. If that's I fought on the undercard of Mike Tyson. I definitely didn't deserve the money. Everybody was there to see Mike Tyson. I was just an hors d'oeuvre a warm up.
Mm-hmm.
I just got everybody warmed up, ready to see Mike. So,
right.
So many people want to argue that point that women are not making what men are making. It's never going to happen. I mean, guys that are fighting in the strawweight division don't make what guys that are fighting at the welterweight or super welterweight division make. You just have to be that guy that really excites the fans. It's kind of like back in the day, Michael Carbajal, he was the first $1 million fighter in that weight class.
Wow.
So, it just takes a lot of time. It takes a special fighter to really be able to generate that money.
Now, do you think the heavyweight division is going to get back how it was before, or do you think it's going to be the lighter weight?
If we can get rid of the Klitschko's, the heavyweight division may come back. But, as long as Vladimir's there, I don't know. He's so big. I don't know if anyone can beat him.
No, his brother's in the politics now, isn't he? Like a president or something in Russia?
Yeah, his brother's doing something in politics, and thank goodness. They're probably great guys. I don't know them. I've never met them, but they're boring. They're not very good. So we need an exciting American champion, and hopefully Deontay Wilder is that person. And he can rejuvenate and get everybody excited about, heavyweight boxing again. And that's really the engine that drives the train. Floyd's going to be Floyd for a little while, but that heavyweight division is the standard. It's just always been the one that really made the train go.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here we have another one. Susan Winters from Seattle, Washington. Christy Martin, if you had a time machine, who would you like to fight, and whose brain would you like to pick?
Well, definitely, if I could go back in time, I would like for the fight with Lucia Riker to have happened. I would like to. I would have liked to have the opportunity to fight Laila again with a different trainer, with a whole different situation, getting ready for the fight. Whose brain I would like to pick? I was so fortunate because I used to always be invited to the Boxing Hall of Fame, and I was able to sit with Carmen Basilio, Dean Fulmer, Archie Moore, Willie Pep.
Wow.
I got to sit with these guys, Dick LaMotta, Marvin Hagler, and listen to their stories. And I mean, I never said a word, really, because just to listen to them talk and listen to them talk about their fights and how they train, and Alexis Arguello, these guys, Aaron Pryor, big fan of Aaron Pryor. It's just so exciting. It's so exciting to be around those guys. But then to get to actually sit across the table and listen to them talk about their fights, and it was very special.
Now, when you talked to Marvin Hagler, was he ever bitter about boxing, especially after his Sugar Ray bout when he quit? I never heard anyone actually pose that question directly to him. My encounter the first year I was at the Hall of Fame with Marvin Hagler was every time I saw him walking in my direction, I walked the other way because I was so scared. I didn't know what to say to him, and I was so intimidated. And I was like, oh my God, he goes Marvin Hagler, boom! I had to go the opposite direction. So what happened finally? They had lined up all the guests, and so here's all these great champions, and then me, and I'm like, oh my God, here's some Hagler. I can't move because they've already given me my spot. I have to stay here. Like, oh my God, here he comes. And he's like, champ, I really like your left hook. And I'm like, oh my God, Mr. Hagler, I can't believe you even know that I throw a left hook. And, so that was my introduction to Marvin Hagler. And since then, he's always been very nice to me, very kind, very cordial. And any questions that I ever had, he would answer. But I never asked him specifically about what he thought of boxing. Right. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Now, what, in your opinion, what do you think was the greatest boxing fight ever in history?
Wow.
Besides your fights.
No, definitely not mine. But, you know, we have to say, like, Hagler Hearns, Jake LaMotta, all those wars he was in, Carmen Basilio, watching those guys, they were just different than the fighters today. Sugar Ray Leonard, you know, these guys, they stood and fought. Today, it's just different. I mean, back then, guys, you know, eyes be swollen closed and blood's coming down, and the referee's just telling them to fight. Now, you get a little cut, and the referee's stopping the fight, you know, calling in the doctor. It's like, which is good. I mean, it's good. Fighters have protection. But, you know, as a fan, I guess we want to see someone's blood and guts. You know, we want to see your courage tested a little bit.
Yeah.
So, as far as the greatest fight, I don't know. I'm just a fan, so I watch every fight. I went for just a couple years that I didn't really watch boxing. But I'm back to, you know, thanks to Al Heyman, watching fights all the time. Every weekend, you know, Friday, Saturday, whenever they're on, I'm watching the fights.
That's awesome. Wow. Well, okay, here's another one. Brian Wills from Ontario, Canada. Christy Martin, have you ever considered being in film? I would love to see you in the new upcoming Sly Stallone Expendables.
No, I haven't. I have signed a movie deal with Catherine Puget, you know, as the writer, and we signed with Anonymous Productions. That's the name of the company. So hopefully the movie gets sold soon, and that part will move on. But I don't expect to see me on the big screen anytime. I'm pretty shy, so I don't think that's my next calling.
No. So
no.
We don't. So the fans won't have the privilege to see you at the next Expendables, alongside Ronda Rousey, and there's rumors that Hulk Hogan might be the new villain in there. And shoot, I'm disappointed now. I'm getting my hopes high. Fly,
yeah.
Listening.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think that's my thing. So we'll see.
Okay, Tony Good from Brooklyn, New York. He emails. What are your thoughts of Don King, and do you see him ever trying to promote boxing again?
No, I think DK's finished with boxing. Or boxing finished with him. My thoughts on Don King is that he's the greatest at what he did. He made every fight he had was an event. I mean, it was an event. Like, it wasn't just a normal, let's go to the fight. No, it's a Don King promotion. It's an event. You had celebrities, celebrities lining the first couple rows. He just made everything bigger than life. And love him or hate him, he's the best at what he did.
Obviously. Now, if I remember right, I was pretty young, but I know he was in prison. Was he promoting actually when he was still in prison?
He hadn't started promoting yet.
Oh, he hasn't? Oh, okay.
No. He did some time, I think a couple different times. Or no, actually several different times. But some serious time. A couple times.
I thought I remembered, and like I said, I was young, but I thought I remembered him. He got to, which I could be totally wrong, that he got to come out just for the fight because he promoted it. Is that true?
No.
Or no?
I don't think so. No, I think he didn't start promoting until after his prison time, and that was all behind him by the time he actually started. Gotcha.
Now, what do you like to do on your downtime when you're not teaching or training or whatnot? What's your hobbies? What do you like to do? What relaxes you? What calms the beat down?
You know what? I'm still trying to find what relaxes me. I think I don't know how to relax. I see a counselor, you know, after going through everything with the domestic violence and all that. I still see a counselor, and that's part of it. You know, she's like, you know, I don't relax, and I don't know how to relax. So we're working on it. But in my, you know, like 20-year boxing career, all I did was boxing. I loved it. I was so fortunate to do a job that I loved. And I trained. I went to the gym and watched other people train and helped train them. I watched boxing on TV. Boxing was my life. And so now I'm still looking for, you know, I went around for a while trying to find a replacement. But I think I kept coming back to boxing. I kept coming back. And by being a promoter, this is going to be my way to stay intact and in touch with the boxing world.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That makes total sense. So, like, any up-and-comers out there, women or male and females or anything, what's your best advice to give them if they wanted to get in the sport of boxing?
Yeah, just my best advice is to go to my website and email me. Let me know you're out there already. And see if we can't put you on the September 15th show. And but no, seriously, it's just to not get in a hurry. Try to surround yourself with good people. And you know what? You have to pay your dues in order to really to get something out of whatever you choose to do in life. You have to pay your dues. And so many people think the first time they see a fighter, oh, that's their first fight. Come on, they probably have 20 pro fights and who knows how many amateur fights and who knows how many rounds they've worked in the gym. And that's what people forget. They just think we show up and fight that night. You know, they don't think about all the miles we run and all the rounds we spar and, you know, how hard it is to get there and how much courage it takes to walk up those steps.
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of magicians kind of frown on like American Idol, saying, like you said, it's not paying your dues. It's like things handed, to the person. Of course they worked hard to get where they're at, but it's different when you have to, go to the bars and perform in front of, one or two people, just like, in pro wrestling, just like in boxing. I'm sure when you first start, you're in some kind of, armory or something in front of 100 people. Now, that being said, do you remember the Contender? I think.
Yes.
Now, how did you feel about that for the boxers coming up? Did you feel that was that great, for them, or did you feel the same way like the magicians that would think about them, doing their musical acts on American Idol?
You know what? The thing is, even with like those kids that fought on the Contender, and then they won a Contender, and then they were thrown in with a top 10 real contender. Mm-hmm. The truth came out in the wash. Either they could fight, and they were a legitimate contender, or they got beat that first step out. So, in some ways, it kind of played out okay anyway. Because if they were good enough to really stay in that top 10, then good for them. I mean, they maybe got to take a little shortcut. But even those guys, the amount of training they did to get there, and they still had to put a lot of hard work in. They were lucky and got a little shortcut.
Yeah, okay. This is the first boxer I ever asked this question to. I watch, on TV and stuff, a lot of people growing up boxing, the movie Rocky inspired them, even though, Rocky, Sylvester Stallone never, had a pro fight. Now, how much did that movie inspire you, if any?
I remember watching it and just kind of being excited about sports. And, I was really young. I think that was like in the mid-70s or something when that movie came out.
Yeah.
But it's kind of one of those movies that whatever you may be doing, you can relate to it. Not just boxing, but it's that underdog becomes a success story, and that's just in life. And I think that's the way I looked at it. At least I'm sure that's the way I looked at it as I got older. When I was 8 and watching it, I may have been a little excited about boxing, but I don't think I never grew up thinking, oh, I want to be a boxer. No. I never grew up thinking that I could be a boxer or, as I said, even that I wanted to be. So I had never seen any other woman box, be in a fight anywhere. So
you were
didn't
pretty
know
much
it was even possible.
So you were the Ronda Rousey in your time for the boxing. You did for boxing what Ronda Rousey did for UFC.
I think so at that time, and we'll see if Ronda Rousey is able to sustain, which she probably will, her career. Mm-hmm. But will she open the door wide enough that the next generation of women can walk through it as well? That's what happened with me. After I went away, in the United States, women's boxing really has fallen because we don't have someone like Don King putting a female fighter on the show every 3 months.
Gotcha.
I was fighting on pay-per-view every 3 months, every 3 or 4 months. So, we don't have that. We don't have any of the major promoters even giving a woman one chance.
Well, I think we have the new Don King right here, the female version, Christy Martin for Pink Promotions.
I'm gonna give it my best shot. I'm fortunate. I have a great partner that's come on board with me and is going to help me out, Horace Kent. And we're gonna see. We're gonna see what happens. We're gonna work this area here in Charlotte hard, and hopefully we can just start to build and grow from this. Just get broader and broader, and who knows? We might be in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand someday. To my next question, do you think, or what's your goals? What's your 5-year goals for Pink Promotions? Do you see yourself eventually get on TV and pay-per-views and stuff like that? I haven't placed any long-term goals because I'm so focused right now on just getting this first show off the ground. And but of course, long-term, I would love to be like Don King or Bobby Arum, those guys doing fights in Madison Square Garden, doing fights in Las Vegas. But right now, I'll just focus on being the best promoter here in the, really the Central East Coast. And that would be, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, go back home. Just really become the best and strongest promoter in this area and then branch out from there.
Awesome. Well, do you have any last words you want to give the fans and any plugs? Plug all your multimedia sites. Plug your first date of the show. I mean, this is your forum.
Yeah, well, we're going to work for Pink Promotions. We'll work for September 15th, Tuesday, here in Charlotte as our first professional boxing match. We have the movie hopefully working, and it'll be sold soon. I work with Every Town, and what we do with Every Town is really stand up against gun violence. And believe it or not, there are some states that want to not have background checks.
What?
And so that means anyone can own a firearm. I carry a gun, but I also am a strong believer that the people that we want with guns should be the people that should have guns, not people that have been convicted of domestic violence charges, not people that are felons, not people that are mentally disabled. Those are the people that don't need to have guns.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I had my concealed weapons permit since I was 21, and people don't realize that. And sometimes, I think sometimes it's a propaganda you see on the news and stuff. But if you think about it, the people that are committing the crimes with the guns, they don't have the concealed weapons permit. So if they,
Exactly.
to me, yeah, and if they ban guns from the citizens that are supposed to have it, who's going to tell the criminals not to have it?
Exactly.
You know, okay, I'm sorry. I had to get that off my chest because I'm a firm believer, gun rights. And I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I'm with you. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I'm a firm believer that in gun rights and gun ownership, I always, before I will speak out either against or for any bill, I have to talk to the person, really understand it, because my father, my brother, my uncles, my grandfathers, they're all hunters. They're all up there in West Virginia. I grew up with guns, so I'm comfortable with the gun being around me. Just unfortunately for me, I was shot, but that doesn't change the fact that I think that people should still be able to own guns that are good, safe people to have guns. So,
right.
Hey, I want to keep making my stand with every town, and hopefully, we can make a difference. Today was actually Wear Orange Day to bring attention to gun violence. So, of course, I was proudly supporting that with wearing my orange, and hopefully, some other people were doing that as well.
Yeah, I've got matter of fact, I have an orange Adidas shirt on. Does that count?
That counts.
Okay, good. I'm supporting you then.
All right, sounds good.
Well, plug your website once again. And
the website is christy-martin.com. But we are right now, finally, after about 3 years, just starting to update it. But through that website, you can email me. If anyone out there wants to email me, wants to talk to me about being on the show in September or anything else. Facebook, I'm on there some. I'm off, for a while. So I'm kind of hit and miss with Facebook. But it's just Christy Martin. And, I appreciate the fans. And it always makes me feel good when I get a little message, thanks, champ. Thanks, Christy. We appreciated your fights. We appreciated what you did in the ring. And some of those days, it's like when I need it the most. So thank you to all the fans.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure once again to have you on the show. And like I said, you could come on anytime to plug anything you want. And I'm sure I'll have you on again to give updates on your first Pink promotion in September and all this gun rights stuff and whatever else you want to talk about. I want to say thank you. It was a pleasure once again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, fans, until next time, ring the bell.
Dobashi's Radio Takedown is a Say Saha Dynamite Productions.
Huss! 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 Huss!
Thank you for downloading and listening to this podcast. You can send your emails to radiotakedown@gmail.com. That's radiotakedown@gmail.com. If you enjoy this podcast, the best way to support this podcast, spread the word and go to radiotakedown.com. Hit that podcast icon and follow so you don't miss a single episode. Or go to Dobashi's Radio Takedown on iTunes and subscribe. You know what? Best of all, it's free. Thank you for your support.